This is part 2 of the final exam review for FNMT 118. So now we are looking at graphing. We'll start with graphing the line y equals 3. Now remember that if this were a one-dimensional number line, we would just put a dot at the point where y is 3. But here we're asking all the points where y equals 3 in a two-dimensional grid. So if you memorize this, you'll know that this is going to be a horizontal line at all the points where y equals 3. But if you don't memorize that, you can do point plotting for this, right? And you can say, okay, if x is 0, what is y? 3. If x is 2, what is y? 3. If x is 4, what is y? 3. So if I plot those points, right, 0, 3, that's that point. 2, 3, that's this point. And then 4, 3, that's that. So you can see here the 3 points that we picked are going to fall on that horizontal line. So you can either come up with the points or you just memorize that this, when it's y equal to some constant, it's going to be a horizontal line. And if it were x equal to a constant, it would have been a vertical line. All right, here we have find the slope through the points. All right, so we have -7, comma, -8, and then we have 5, comma, -8. So you have two options here. You can use the slope formula or you can use graph paper. So for the first one, I'm going to use the graph at the top and show you -7, comma, -8. So let's see, -7, -8 would be like right here, and then 5, -8. So 5, -8 would be right here. The slope between these 2 points, that's a horizontal line. That's going to be 0. All right, now if I use the slope formula, remember that's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is, I'll say this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So we have -8 minus -8 over, and then 5 minus -7. So that's really like saying -8 plus 8 and 5 plus 7. So you have 0 over 12, which again is 0. All right, so we have 0. And another way to remember that this fraction, sorry about that, this fraction, remember, okay. 0 divided by some number is okay. So that's 0, because that's okay. All right, let's take a look at the next one, 8, comma 6, and then 8 and -2. So this one I'm going to just use the slope formula for. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So -2 minus 6 over 8 minus 8, which gives us -8 over 0. This is undefined. If you graph this, this will be a vertical line. And you can remember the mnemonic device NO. No. Right? You have a number that's not 0 divided by 0. No, that's undefined. All right, graph the line y equals 4x. So there's 2 ways we can go about this. We can plot, point plot. Well, more than 2 ways, but point plot or use our slope and our y-intercept. So I am going to point plot so we have that practice. Right, so if x is 0, plug in 0 for x, 4 times 0, so we get 0. I'll put that point down. All right, if x is 1, 4 times 1, we get 4, so 1 comma 4. So over 1 up 4, and then draw your line in. All right. Now we have y equals negative 2x minus 1. This time I'm going to use the y-intercept and slope method. So the y-intercept is negative 1, which means we're plotting the point 0 comma negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that. And then our slope is negative 2 over, so negative 2 over 1. So I'm going down to right 1. Then you could draw your line in. And there we go. All right, here we have find the x-intercept and y-intercept of the line. So I'm going to just draw a table here because it's helpful. Plug in 0 for x for one point, 0 for y for the other point. So if I plug in 0 for x, 6 times 0 plus 2y equals negative 12. That means 2y equals negative 12. Divide by 2 on both sides. So we get y is equal to negative 6. That means our x-intercept, our y-intercept is negative 6. All right, now let's plug in 0 for y. So we have 6x plus 2 times 0 equals negative 12, which means we have 6x equals negative 12. Divide both sides by 6. So we have x is equal to negative 2. So our x-intercept is negative 2. All right, this time we're going to graph the line. And notice how here the equation of the line is written in standard form. And whenever I see that, I oftentimes prefer to use my intercepts in order to graph. So I'm going to set up my table for my intercepts. So for the first one, I'll do 2x plus 0 equals 6, which means 2x equals 6. Divide both sides by 2, and we'll get x is 3. So we can plot the y-intercept. I'm sorry, wrong one. That's our x-intercept. Sorry about that. All right, then we have for our y-intercept 2 times 0 plus y equals 6. So we have y just equal to 6. So our y-intercept is 6. All right, we got our 2 points. Draw in our line. All right, find the slope of the line graph below. So the easiest thing to do is just to count the slope here. So I can see, right, I have a vertical distance and a horizontal distance between these 2 points. Okay, so if I count, I'm going to start from this point here. If I count units, that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4 units that I went down. So that's negative 4 vertically. Now to the right, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 units to the right. So that's my slope, negative 4 over 5. All right, find the slope of the line passing through the points, -2, -7, and 3, 5. So you can also use your slope formula. So I'm going to call this x1, y1, x2, y2, and let's remember our formula, m equals y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1. You will not be able to use notes on the final, so make sure you have this memorized. So we have here 5 minus -7 over, and then 3 minus -2, so that's 5 plus 7 over 3 plus 2 gives me 12 over 5, and that is simplified. So there's my slope. Okay. All right, let's find the slope and the y-intercept of the line. So we have 5x, let's use a different color. There we go. 5x minus 2y equals -10. If I want to find the slope and the y-intercept of the line, I can just, this is standard form. If I rewrite the equation into slope-intercept form, right, this is a slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. So if I want to do that, then I can go about this a couple ways. I am going to actually choose to, so I don't have to deal with all these negatives. I'm going to add 2y to the right. So that's going to give me 5x. The minus 2y and the plus 2y is eliminated, equals -10 plus 2y. And then I'm going to add 10 to each side. So that gives me 5x plus 10 equals, the -10 and +10 is eliminated, and that equals 2y. So notice how this was friendlier to do this way. Instead, you could have subtracted the 5x from the beginning, but then everything would have been negative, and I didn't want that. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So I got 5x over 2 plus 10 over 2 equals y. So that means the slope is 5 over 2. And the y-intercept is 5. All right, question 10. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line with slope is 5 and y-intercept is -7. So again, remember, y equals mx plus b is our general form. And I'm going to just substitute y equals, the slope is 5, so 5x. And then the y-intercept is -7, so -7. At this question 11, we have a line passes through the point 8, 1, and has a slope of 3/2. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for this line. So this particular line, we have the slope. So we already know y equals 3/2 x plus b. But we need to find b. So in order to get b, we'll substitute for x and y. And we're going to substitute 8 for x and 1 for y. So we have 1 equals 3 over 2 times 8 plus b. So that gives us 1 equals the 2 and the 8 reduce. So we get 4 times 3, which is 12. Subtract 12 from each side. So we have -11 equals b. So our equation is y equals 3/2 x minus 11. All right, question 13 says, the sum of two numbers is 65. Okay, that's an equation. I'm going to use a and b. I think I'm skipping one. Yes, sorry about that. I skipped to 13. Let me step back a little bit. We have solve the following system of equations. 3x minus 8y equals 9, negative 3x plus 10y equals negative 15. So that is actually set up very nicely for elimination. If I add these two equations, I can see here the 3x and the minus 3x is eliminated. The negative 8y plus the 10y gives me 2y. And then the 9 plus negative 15 gives me negative 6. So if I divide both sides by 2, I get y is equal to negative 3. Now let's find x. So I'm going to use, let's use the first equation to get x. So we got 3x minus 8 times negative 3 equals 9. So that gives me 3x plus 24 equals 9. Subtract 24 from each side. So that gives me 3x equals negative 15. Divide by 3 on each side. So we have x is equal to negative 5. So our solution is negative 5 comma negative 3. All right, now to the question that I skipped to. We had the sum of two numbers is 65. All right, so I'm going to use A plus B equals 65. Then we have one number is, so that would be like A equals 4 times as large as the other, 4 times B. What are the numbers? So I can substitute for A. We get 4B plus B equals 65. So we have 5B equals 65. And if I divide both sides by 5, I get B is equal to 13. Okay, the first number we have A equals 4B, so now I can do 4 times 13. All right, and we can show our work for that. 13 times 4, 4 times 3 is 12, so we have 52. So our two numbers are 13 and 52. All right, question 14. Simplify 5u to the 7th over 35u cubed. So 5 over 35 reduces by factors of 5. Right, so that's going to give us a 7 in the denominator. And then u to the 7 over u cubed. We can subtract our exponents, so u to the 7 minus 3. So we're left with u to the 4th power over 7. Question 15, we have in parentheses 3x to the 6th y squared divided by 6x cubed. And I really recommend you simplify inside of the parentheses first. So the 3 and the 6, that's going to reduce to 1 over 2. X to the 6 divided by x cubed. You can subtract your exponent, 6 minus 3, so we get x cubed. And we're still left with the y squared. And then all of that is cubed. So now we know the numerator is being cubed and the denominator is being cubed. So this is our power to a power rule, which means we have to multiply the exponents. So we have x to the 9th power, y to the 6th power. Now don't forget 2 cubed means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So we have x to the 9th, y to the 6th divided by 8. Okay, question 16, we have in parentheses, 3w to the negative 2x to the fifth to the power of negative 2. All right, first thing I'm going to do is in parentheses, I'm going to actually rewrite this without negative exponents. So we have 3x to the fifth over w squared. And that this is to the negative 2 power. And then I'm going to flip my fraction. So I have w squared over 3x to the fifth squared. And that's to get rid of the exponent outside of parentheses. Now I am going to square my numerator and my denominator. So in the numerator, I get w to the fourth power. In the denominator, 3 squared is 9. And x to the fifth squared is x to the 10th power. Okay, last one here. We have in parentheses in the numerator 12m to the 6th n cubed p to the 7th divided by in the denominator 16m to the negative 9 n to the negative 3 p to the negative 2 close parentheses to the negative 1 power. I'm going to simplify inside of the parentheses first. So looking here, first I am going to take the reciprocal of m to the negative 9, n to the negative 3, and p to the negative 7. So I have 12 m to the 6, n cubed, the 16 in the denominator, and p to the negative 2 in the denominator. I'm not going to do anything with those, but I'm taking the reciprocal of p to the negative 7 in the numerator, so that's p to the 7th in the denominator. M to the negative 9 in the denominator gives me m to the 9th in the numerator. N to the negative 3 in the denominator gives me n cubed in the numerator now. And I still have that negative 1 outside of parentheses, which I'll worry about later. Now, I prefer to do it this way, so now I can simplify m to the 6th and m to the 9th as a product rule, and I can simplify n cubed and n cubed as a product rule, and I can simplify p to the 7th and p to the negative 2 as a product rule. So that means I'm also going to simplify 12 over 16, reduce that by a factor of 4, so that gives me 3 over 4, m to the 6, m to the 9, so that's m to the 15. You're adding 6 and a 9. N cubed and n cubed, adding the 3 and the 3, so that's n to the 6. And then p to the 7th and p to the negative 2, I'm adding 7 and negative 2, so that gives me p to the 5th. And all of that is to the negative 1. So now I'm going to end with taking the reciprocal. So we have 4p to the 5th over 3m to the 15th n to the 6th.